Well, ladies and gentlemen, what can I say? I have a very special guest tonight on the show. Not only is he a personal friend of mine, he's one of the best, if not the best, hypnotists in the world. So, welcome to the show, Jonathan Royle. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Philip?
Well, like everybody else, ticking over. I don't have so much work as I used to do, to be quite honest, Jonathan, but that's by choice. Uh, I mean, you probably get the same, and I've said this to a lot of my students. Once you start going out and working for, well, let's say next to nothing, then you're expected to do it all the time, ain't you? And I don't know how it is with you. You're the top of the tree. I think I'm not toward. It's not the top of the tree, towards the top of the tree in my field with the mediumship. But all the bookers, they want you to almost work for nothing, don't they, mate? And
Well, I would say it was a sign of the times with us living in this cost of living crisis. But in truth, it's always been like that because it's kind of invisible what we do. You
absolutely.
spiritually, and me effectively, perceptively, just talking to people, albeit that the outcome can be that they, overcome habits, addictions, fears, phobias, and whatnot.
Oh,
It's
absolutely,
it's
Jonathan. Absolutely.
invisible. It's
It is, and
invisible, and people kind of sometimes can't get their head round why something that apparently is not as tangible as kind of going out and buying a new car or buying a new stereo or a new TV or a new laptop where they can immediately see it. They
you're
don't
right, mate.
necessarily realize that this invisibleness, it's not that you're not buying an invisible thing, you're buying a result, which I know people buy a ticket to come to one of your demonstrations. Quite often they'll be fortunate enough to get some sort of reassurance, signal, or message of meaning from a loved one from the other side.
Well, I don't think anybody does more messages than me. I think that's something that I've always had a reputation for, and eye accuracy. But I don't know. I think the problem is there's so many people doing the mediumship now, but like you're at the top of the field of your work as a hypnotherapist, hypnotist. And I mean, I ain't one for blowing my own trumpet, but I think I'm at that level in my mediumship work. But
Well,
there's
and
so many.
anyone who bothers to research you will see that that speaks for itself. So you don't
Thank
need
you,
to. It's not a case
thank
of
you.
blowing sunshine up your backside, as the saying
You're
goes. It
very
just
kind.
success leaves clues. Simple as that.
You're very kind, Jonathan. But I think they do sort of see, they get to see these people and they can go into this psychic down the pub for 50 quid, and people like I mean they don't realise that people like me and we put years and years and years into getting where we are. It's not like someone that you've picked up a couple of years ago and you're out there marketing it. You've done it for years. I mean, I have to
Exactly.
tell you, ladies and gentlemen, a very kind man is Jonathan, because I originally did my training with a guy called Gordon May, who I know the hypnotism side very, very
Also
well.
known as Delavar.
Oh, Delavar, of course, a magician, medium, all sorts of stuff. But he was a very good hypnotist, and he taught me all. But this gentleman, Jonathan Roll, very, very kindly. Well, you've heard the lovely thing that he just said about me, but he awarded me all the of his diplomas and certificates and that, and I'm very, very touched by that. The man, like everyone, you'll put his name in, and you'll hear some people who are less supportive, who are less sort of kind, or sometimes I think jealousy can make people very cruel, and
Unfortunately, so. And you know what's saddest about that? It doesn't matter about the industry or the field. It doesn't matter, because listeners might be involved. The job might be being a plumber or a carpenter. They might
yeah,
work in an office. It doesn't matter in all industries to some degree. Just in some, it's more obvious than others. There's going to be people who are jealous of you as you climb your career ladder. And the thing is, it is really sad, because if they took the energy that they take and then focus outwards to try and backbite, to spread rumours and lies, or to try and put obstacles in your path to trip you up, or
Yes.
whatever form it may take, if they use that same energy, focus positively inwards on personal development, self-improvement, on themselves, the chances are they would end up being at the same level or even above the person that
Definitely.
they've been focusing the negativity on.
And I will say this: it is actually, we had the famous Leonard Young on my show a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, right.
And oh yeah, and Leonard was absolutely supportive in his belief of hypnotism and hypnotherapy, and how we felt all psychics or all mediums would make great progress by studying it. Now I do know that a lot of people have, obviously, where I advertise you on my show most weeks, and a lot of people have sort of said, well, I will do that, but I'm a bit nervous about it. And for those of us who know how it works, there's nothing at all to be nervous about, and so much to be gained, isn't there? I mean, you've got to go like Leonard Young, who was I think he was the vice president of the SNU, and in our field, saying, especially with your trance work, if you were going to work as a trance medium, you need to study hypnosis as well. And I, for one, agree with him, Jonathan, to be quite honest.
I mean, I agree that it's certainly be beneficial to all mediums in a few different respects. Obviously, you could use self-hypnosis on yourself to increase your own self-confidence, overcome any habits, addictions, fears, or phobias you may have. So you can use it for personal development. But that personal development could also take the form of using self-hypnosis or conventional hypnotherapy techniques that you record to use upon yourself to help you get into that correct zone or state or level, whatever terminology you personally wish to use, where getting that connection with the spirit world or the universal consciousness, whatever your personal beliefs or approach is, becomes easier for you, because you can still the conscious mind more rapidly. You can remove that critical faculty, analytical area of the mind, push it out the way, the kind of internal voice, that little voice that goes, if you ever hear yourself in your head saying, a voice kind of going, oh, he's better than you, or she's better than you, or you're not as good as that. Well, that little voice, you could use hypnosis to turn it down or change it completely and bring in a different voice going, you're really, really good. You're fantastic at this. And that
wonderful advice. And I'll tell you something, Jonathan, and this is absolutely true for what I'm saying to you. Well, certainly the last 20 years, all the students that I've trained over the years, the last 20 years, certainly, a lot of them, I suppose, because of the work that I've done in the theatre and on the shows and the involvement with the spiritual groups, I suppose, almost all of them, they really are looking eventually towards, a lot of them, stage work. Mm-hmm. And I always say it's a very different job. In a little church with 10 people there, or perhaps all sitting in the front row, it's not the same pressure as when you walk out when there's 500 plus out there. But I do feel that you can help to bring yourself into the calm, as we call it, the quiet, whatever you want to call it. And I think it's a must to help you with your stage work. Not a must for everyone. I mean, there is some people that are just naturally confident and do sight walk. I probably was myself, to be honest. But I've seen so many people who are terribly nervous at stage work. The like great Doris Stokes. She used to be, her knees would be not. She was just wear those great long dresses, didn't they? Because the knees was knocking. And I often thought she ought to have gone along to somebody like yourself and worked on that a bit.
Simple, and it wouldn't something like that. It's kind of relatively easy. You learn the self-hypnosis process, which there's great books out there. If you wanted to have a look, you could look at a website ultimatehypnosiscourse.com, which is a package that I've got, and you place yourself into that state, which some would say is akin to the stillness and calmness of meditation, but perhaps even giving you more direct access to your personal desktop computer. And one way to handle the nerves, example, for stage fright or for job interviews, you know, that might be useful for people, or even for going into a social occasion where you're meeting people you haven't met before. If that's something that used to in the past bother you, worry you, or concern you in those situations, take some time to perhaps just close your eyes and take some nice deep regular breaths in through your nose and then out through your mouth. Deeply and regularly in through your nose and out through your mouth. And you do that for a minute or two, and it will help still your mind and calm your thoughts. And then imagine in your mind's eye that it's almost as if you can see in a way that feels right for you. For some people, it's glorious technicolor. For other people, it's in black and white. For other people, it's so vague, they go, oh, I can't picture anything, but I'm just imagining the words. Doesn't matter. Whatever's right for you is right for you. But you just imagine it's almost as if you can see a control room in your mind's eye, like a door. And you imagine yourself walking up to that door, and as you get closer, you actually notice on the door it says head engineer's room. And you think, yes, I'm in the right place. And you open that door and you go inside. And the moment you open the door and go inside, you are in your head engineer's room. And you can see all manner of dials, buttons, sliders, controls of all different types and sizes. And you won't know exactly how you know, but what you do is you just look around and you'll feel drawn to just one of those buttons or switches or sliders or knobs, whatever it may be, in a way that feels right for you. And when you're drawn towards it, you start to notice that as you get closer to that dial, lever, switch, button, whatever it may be for you, that you start to feel a sense of calmness and confidence inside you that starts to kind of positively flood every nerve, fiber, tissue, and muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, feeling so good, so calm, so relaxed. And as you reach towards it in your mind's eye now, towards that switch or that dial or that lever or that button, whatever it is for you, I'm going to count backwards from 3 to 1. And on the count of 1, that very moment, that very second that I say the number 1 and click my fingers like that, as quick as a snap of the fingers, you can then just imagine in your mind's eye turning that switch off or sliding the lever down or pressing the button so it goes to the off position, so that it turns off all the power to that lever, switch, dial or button, whichever it may be, which you now realize is the button, switch, dial or control that used to in the past cause you to be nervous or panicky or stressed in those public social situations or when you were on stage. Because this is your time to be able to let go of that completely and say goodbye to it, so that you can move forward with positivity, a sense of calmness and confidence within. So 3, that moment to be able to leave all that negative stuff behind that once used to bother you in the past is rapidly getting closer, and you feel a sense of kind of quiet contentment, calmness, and a little bit of excitement inside as on 2. You know, you no longer need to let these things bother you, worry you, or concern you as they once did in the past. And on 1, in a way that feels right for you, turn that switch off, press the button, pull the slider down or turn the dial down, whatever it is for you, turn it down so that you know it's turned down to nothing, gone completely. It can no longer bother you, worry you, or concern you as it once did in the past. And then realize, Lord, what would happen if somebody came in and saw that dial? Well, we need to do a couple of things to make sure that can never happen. So things can never go back to the way they once were in the past. They can only remain as they are now, so that every nerve, fiber, tissue, and muscle in your body, from the tips of your toes to the tips of your fingers, kind of spreads the feeling of positivity and calm, happy excitement in those situations that used to bother you in the past, but now they serve as a sign and a signal of how wonderful you feel inside. So to ensure it can never go back to the way it once was, in a way that feels right for you, and it doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. It might involve super glue, hammer and nails, a welding torch to weld it in place. It really, concrete to encase it. It doesn't matter. Whatever you can think of when I count from 3 to 1 this time, just imagine, as daft as it may seem, encasing that control in a block of concrete, or gluing it with the world's strongest super glue, or hammering and nailing it, or bolting it in place so that nobody could ever turn it up again, so it can never have any power or control over you in the negative way it once did in the past. 3, 2, and on 1, just lock it, glue it, weld it, cement it, bolt it, fix it firmly, solidly, and permanently in place, and realize that from this moment forward, each morning, you will be able to awaken with an inner warm glow of confidence, a renewed optimism to life, a more positive attitude to get things done, as you can now just let that remain with you in a way that feels good for you, and you can just open your eyes, feeling fantastic inside.
What about that then, ladies and gentlemen? The great Jonathan Royle has not only come on the show tonight as my special guest, he's just given you a free technique to hypnotise yourself, to use hypnotherapy. I'm not very keen on changing words between hypnotism and hypnotherapy, because I have no wish to offend all the hypnotherapists in the world. I don't, but it's the same thing. But you know what I'm gonna say here and now. What I'm gonna say here and now. Obviously, this man's a friend. I remember interviewed him on my BBC days, my Wolverhampton radio days, and I hear on Pulse Talk Radio, which is going all over the world. My show to 40, 50,000 listeners, and you know, it's wonderful. What an opportunity he's given you tonight to learn something. But that brings me into a position that I wanted Jonathan, I do fall over my
It's all right. I was born with the name, as you know, Alex William Smith. That's the name my parents gave me. When I got to an older age, I basically changed it because, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome live on stage, Alex Smith, as opposed to, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jonathan Royle. The syllables, Jonathan Royle, gets a bigger applause cue from the audience.
It works. But can you see what I'm saying? How much I like this man, you know, it's very hard for me, and probably him for me as well, to talk to me. You know, I have another name, you know, but we all have our stage names. But what I am really pleased that Jonathan can do and give you that little lesson tonight, because that's wonderful. But one of the reasons I wanted to get him sort of, you know, I'll mention him regular listeners, but what I wanted to get Jonathan on the show tonight for, because he's got this fantastic offer, almost all the things you could ever need to learn or want to do in hypnotism, hypnotherapy, something or anything else. But he's got a fantastic offer on at the moment, and it's all to do in honour of his lovely daughter's birthday, I believe it was yesterday, and yours the day before. So happy birthday to your daughter.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the offer in a nutshell, I'm not going to overpay. If anyone who's interested, basically, I've created numerous courses over the years, over the past 3 decades. Also, I'm lucky that I was given permission to market and supply Gordon Mees, Delavar's original hypnosis courses as well. And a number of other people have given me permission to market their courses as well. So it's not just me. There's actually 20 odd experts in their different fields of stuff. And if you bought it all individually from my different websites, it would actually cost well over £10,000 United Kingdom sterling. So that's over $12,000 if everything was bought separately.
Yes,
because there is literally thousands of hours of training videos. Nobody on this planet would ever watch them all or have a desire to, because there'd be lots of stuff in there that wouldn't interest them. But what I can guarantee is that anything that you ever want to or need to know about hypnotherapy, whether it's for clinical hypnotherapy, spiritual hypnosis, past life regression, connecting with your higher angels, whatever area is covered somewhere inside the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp, which contains access to everything I've ever released. But it doesn't cost you 12,000 US dollars or 10,000 pounds sterling as it would to buy individually. And neither at the moment does it cost you the $4,997 that it's reduced to as the boot camp normally, which is about 4,500 United Kingdom sterling, which incidentally is roughly is about the average cost of an accredited professional hypnotherapy advanced training course these days.
Absolutely.
But it's not even going to cost you that. It's going to cost you a fraction, because I'm running till kind of it was going to be until midnight on my daughter's birthday, but I'm extending it until the end of the month, as you can see at ultimatehypnosiscourse.com. It's got another 90% knocked off it. So all you ever pay is a single payment of 497 United States dollars, or a single payment of 397 pounds United Kingdom sterling. And what's more, it comes with a full 1 year, 100% satisfaction money back guarantee, that you will never need any other training materials in NLP, hypnotherapy, body language, stress management, or the psychological side of spiritual development. Because the psychic side, I leave to experts like your good self. But anything that's psychological side of stuff, everything you'll ever need's in there. That's all I'm going to say about it. Because anyone who's interested can go to ultimatehypnosiscourse.com.
Less than 400 quid at that. You can't go wrong, can you? And I'll tell you, I've got all this guy's stuff, you know, and it's good. And you would never sort of address it all, because there's so many different things that
you're not meant to, because there's no way anyone would ever be interested in everything in there. But the idea is you study the introduction bit, the building blocks of hypnosis, so you understand how and why it works, what it is, why you don't have to be scared of it, how it does relate in some ways to things like meditation, how it does relate in some ways to mediumship, in getting yourself into that zone of the quiet state. Once you understand those building blocks, then you can choose to take the path that you want, whether it's spiritual, doing past life regression, or using it for trance mediumship, or whether it's going down the hypnotherapy route for helping people with health complaints or fears, habits, addictions, or phobias, in which case then you study that area. Or if you wanted, perhaps you had an interest in sports and you wanted to help golfers improve the game, or football players to increase their concentration and stuff, which I know is something that you've done quite successfully. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Then there is a sports hypnosis section in the bootcamp. So the idea is, once you remember, you just study the bits that interest you once you've learnt the building blocks. But it means you're not. A lot of courses out there, they'll start off by giving you some building blocks, but then they want you to go and spend money with them again on another course to learn the sports psychology. And then they want you to do a different course if you wanted to do past life regression. Sure. I like to give everyone access to everything they need, including stuff they'll probably never need.
Because I know I've got your stuff and your material. When I saw what it was being offered for, I thought, well, you know, I'm going to get Jonathan back on the show this week and talk about this, because I think you deserve to have that, cover that exposure.
Thank you. You know, what's more, I think more than the hypnosis, that they can learn from it, even if you're an experienced hypnotist, there's stuff you can learn in there. But for therapists of all kind, and even for psychic consultants, clairvoyants, mediums, anyone in the holistic health industry or alternative complementary medicine arenas, one key thing that a lot of courses lack, that I hope I don't sound too arrogant saying this, but I'm very proud of, is the vast amount of ready-made tools that we give you, such as like press release templates, marketing letter templates, promotional video templates, and stuff, as well as training on marketing, advertising, publicity, and promotion to help put yourself on the map. Because you can be the best tarot reader or the best reflexologist or herbalist on the planet, but that's no good if nobody knows how to contact you, where to contact you, and what you've got on offer. You've got to put your head above the bunker, the parapet, so to speak, and draw attention to yourself in a positive fashion, so that people come to you, so that you can pay your bills. Because you know what? people who are spiritual, and it's understandable. It comes with you having that empathy and other talents. Quite often are shy or a little bit reserved from asking for payment or promoting the fact that they do this for a living. Well, remember this, boys and girls.
It's an exchange of energy.
Exactly. And also, you deserve to be able to live in a manner where you're safe, you've got a roof over your head, you can eat, you can clothe yourself, because without those things, you wouldn't be able to operate at your most efficient and positive as a medium, as a consultant or a therapist. So it's not, you know, it's not a negative thing to turn it into a business. It's actually positive, not just for you, but also for your clients, because you'll be able to give them a more energetically positive and focused experience as a therapist or a psychic consultant or whatever arena you're in, when you yourself are coming from a position where you are not having, you're not sat there dealing with the client.
You've got to know how to do it.
Yeah, not thinking in the back of your mind, how am I going to pay the mortgage at the end of the month? You need to have enough money coming in so that you don't have to worry about those things, so you can be fully there in the moment with your client, giving them 100%.
Jonathan, can I ask you something? That
anything you want?
NLP and all that stuff, and was it Bandler, the guy who? Yeah,
Richard Bandler and John Grinder coined the term NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, which incidentally, there's a fully accredited diploma course accreditation inside the Elite Hypnosis Bootcamp at ultimatehypnosiscourse.com.
That's great, but what's your feeling? To me, it's still, you know, it's still hypnosis, you know, to me.
It is.
I mean, tell me I'm a fool if, you know.
I completely agree with you. The simple fact of the matter is, I can only speak from what I offer, 1,000,000%, but I will express my opinion on other stuff as well. But in the boot camp, you can earn up to 26 world-class accredited professional qualifications. Most people only choose to study 4 or 5, obviously, and then they get on with earning a living and being successful. Sure. But you can choose from the ones that interest you, and they've all got different fancy names. For example, I've got a system I call Psychophysio-Energetic Alignment of Changing Energies and Emotions, the acronym of which is PEACE, peace. And its kind of strapline, marketing line is help give your clients inner peace and help give your clients peace of mind. So that's a positive suggestion.
It's working on your emotional intelligence, isn't it? And
exactly. All of these things are. And
yeah, sure, they are really, to be honest. Can I stop you for a minute?
Of course you can.
Jonathan? It seems to be, which is really, really good for a lot of you guys, I suppose, if you do it. But it seems to have been somewhat of a resurgence lately with past life regression. What do you think of that? Do you think it? I mean, I won't be offended if you, however you express.
I have no. Well, the fact is, nobody can prove one way or the other what is going on with past life regression. So I cannot sit here and say I know what's going on. Okay. It could be that different people react for different reasons. Now, I do teach past life regression inside the bootcamp at ultimatehypnosiscourse.com, and there are videos of me doing large public demonstrations of it, along with a psychic artist present who was drawing the images of the people that they felt they were connecting to, and afterwards, when the people were brought out of trance, having experienced their past life, they looked visibly shocked when they looked at these pictures, and they said, wow, that's me.
It's amazing, isn't it, then? Especially when you've got a psychic artist to work with.
And the psychic artist was drawing the pictures before the people are drawn detailed features on these people that were being shown on a big screen before I asked the people on stage what they looked like, who had their eyes closed. And when they started describing themselves, what they saw by looking down in a lake or a mirror,
amazing, really.
They were describing what was on the big screen. And to be honest, I don't have an explanation for that.
Well, that's an honest way of answering the question, isn't it, really? You don't know. And I don't think any of us can sort of smack some at home and say, this is positively correct or positively wrong. You have to be open-minded if
what
you
I do know is this:
expand your knowledge.
Coincidence could account for one person maybe coming out with their eyes closed, they're in trance and describing themselves. One person might say something that's generalized enough that it looks like what's been drawn, but every person on stage, one after the other,
seen it. I've had
this is going beyond possible coincidence.
I'll tell you a little story. You'll find this. I may have told you this story already, but my daughter used to be a psychic artist. She's given up the work. She's she doesn't do it anymore. But she was really good, and it was a lovely thing that to work. I know you're very close with your daughter, and it was a love about all the family. But it was very. I remember once we were working, and like you say, people, she'd draw it on paper, and people would say, "Oh gosh, I understand that." But she did this one. I'd gone to this Indian guy, Asian guy, and gave him a message, and he was yes, spot on, correct, which is what we always like to wear. Yeah, that'll do. That's absolutely got to be correct. I said, well, hold on a bit, because my daughter has drawn something for you. This is the truth. This is Jonathan. Mm-hmm. And she'd drawn a motorcycle, old British motorcycle. I think it was like an old BSA or something, with an Indian guy with the turban on. And she'd put a registration number on the bike, because the guy still got it. Turned out that it's still in the family, and she got she penciled the registration number in of the bike, and you can't argue with that, can you? She drew a guy with a turban, the motorcycle, and
it speaks for itself how that's possible.
What it was, Jonathan, he hadn't actually accepted it on the night to pick the sketch, but he came back the next week, and she wasn't working with me. I don't know, we were somewhere different we were working. And he'd come again to say the show somewhere else, which was nice. But he'd come up to me at the end, and he says, well, I've got to show you this photograph. I said, yeah, sure, okay. Out comes the photograph. There's the Indian guy on the old BSA with the turban, and there's the registration number.
Nice.
You can't argue with that, can you?
No.
I mean, I don't... maybe there was some people. I've often had it said to me. I think me, Jonathan. I'm not easily ruffled or offended. But some people, Sammy, yourself, some people will say you're fantastic, others will say you're crap, not so good. I nearly said another word. Yeah, that's the business that we're in, isn't it? But it is a wonderful thing, and. I like your honesty as well, because I'm the same. We can't say for sure that
there's theories, and all of them kind of, certainly with past life regression, all of them to a degree make sense, which means you can't rule any of them out. What I mean is, for example, there's a theory, and there's some evidence to support it, that people don't actually regress to a past life, but what they're doing is getting memories, like genetic cell memory, from relatives, from many generations ago, genetic cell memory that's been passed on, or that it could be that they're not experiencing their own past life, but they are actually kind of doing something akin to, well, could be in a parallel universe that they travel through the mind through dimensions, or that they're doing something similar to what a medium would do, but just they've gone into a state that they don't know is similar to that of a medium, and so they confuse it as being their own experience.
I'll tell you what I've had said to me, and by many people, and once I was in a big audience, and nobody likes anybody to stand up and challenge you. You're great at handling that sort of stuff, and I think I've had enough experience over the years to be able to deal with it myself. But a lot of people have said more than I would think 10 over the years, or 12 have said to me, you're not. It's not what you're a mind reader. You read people's mind. And this guy stood up at the middle of a show and says, This is all looks fantastic to you people, but you do realise this man is reading your minds." So I said, "Well, if I am, and I've just done that for the last 2 hours, that's pretty fantastic, isn't it?" Yeah.
Even
It's
if
not
that
what
is
I do,
what,
but yeah.
even if that was what was going on, if you say that in itself, in the context of the way that you demonstrate, anyway, I'm going to keep it very specifically on you, because, well, you know, there are some rogue people out there in every industry.
Of course there are, and
there are
mediums. I know it.
And there's some that use trickery, but the way that you do not get anyone to write things down before a demonstration.
No.
You don't get people to write on slips of paper and put them in a giant goldfish pool that then goes out of view.
No,
I'm not going to mention any names.
Behave yourself.
Names.
I love this guy, but I have to.
I'm not going to mention names, but there are genuinely people who do that.
Yeah, I know.
And that's using trickery. You don't get people to write things down. So if you were
Shall I tell you some of
just
that?
reading minds, that'd be phenomenally amazing anyway.
Would. But I know where you are, Jonathan, and I know who you're on about with the huge belly. She sent me and Kath tickets for a show up at our theatre.
All right.
And oh yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing. You just go in there, nothing written down, and you do it. So if someone's explanation is that you were reading minds, well, you know what, then wow, that's amazing anyway. And you know, I duplicate mind reading in some of my stage shows, and in fact I teach how to do the Derren Brown type mind reading stuff inside the Elite Hypnosis bootcamp.
I went to see a show in Birmingham last year. It was certainly interesting because I know you helped him, didn't you? If you don't mind me saying that, you know.
His television production company have had access to a number of the items that are in the boot camp and have used some of the ideas in the past on the TV shows. Yeah, that's fair to say. A lot of it,
for guys like me and you, I enjoyed it. It was very interesting, but I immediately understood how a lot of it was done, you know. But I would tell you this much: it's a fantastic show, and he certainly worked on exchanging energy, in my view, with members of that audience, and that's what it's all about, you know, at the end of the day. And I found it most enjoyable. Well, a friend, what's his name? What to remember his name? Apart from you, very famous hypnotist, he's back on, got something coming up. Oh, his name escapes me. All the books, Stop You Smoking in the Day.
Paul McKenna.
Paul McKenna, who I've interviewed many times. You're not likely to be listening tonight, Paul, but I absolutely apologise, mate, if you are. But I'm getting older these days. It's nothing personal, mate, you know. But I believe he's got a new stage show going out of. Why don't you do something like that, Jonathan?
Do you know, the irony of it is I was about to launch a kind of, how can I phrase this without it sounding offensive? No. Well, basically, I'll just pre-mention, no offense to people who do spiritual healing.
No.
But I don't do spiritual healing. So I wouldn't claim to. That's not my bag. Some would argue that I do, because I do actually teach an element of energy healing within the boot camp. But I'm a few steps away from it going into the spiritual.
Because you know what I say that you do, and you know, we never the twain might meet, as they say. Because I know that the work that you do and the things that you do, and the way you talk tonight, just off the cuff, and give a short lesson. For many people, that's healing, my friend, real healing. So you know, it's all right. People are waving their hands over your head, you know, and chanting this and that. You know, there's a part and a role for everyone. But sometimes just doing what you do naturally, like you've done tonight in an interview, that's healing, my friend. Because people
Well, in that context, then yeah, I suppose you could say it would be a healing demonstration. I was planning on going and booking venues and doing, if you like, what I would term between us as being a non-spiritual healing show.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Where I'd make it clear I'm not claiming any divine connection. I'm not claiming to be, bringing energy forth from God or from any spiritual dimension or anything. If that's how it's done, then I'm not aware of it. But what I'm going to do for you here tonight is help you connect with your own, and the key being your own inbuilt positive energies, and help you reprogram your own personal neck-top computers. And then during the course of like the first and second half, obviously with an interval in the middle, get people up at random who said that they had habits, addictions, fears or phobias they wanted to sort it, and treat them live on stage. But then at the end, having shown instant results with them, give everyone a mass group experience and teach them techniques similar to what I covered earlier, but other ones as well that they could use on themselves in any area of their life.
Honest, you should do it. Do it.
And I was about to do it, and what happened?
COVID.
The pandemic.
I know.
So it's something I would definitely be looking at making happen next year.
I do hope you do. And I've got to admit, I've not done much work past. Well, it's not gone, is it? Because unfortunately it's still there. But acted upon in a different way by the scientists and physicians, if you want to put it like that. But I mean, it did decimate show business generally. People just stopped coming out and coming to shows, or whoever you were, they'd got rows of empty seats, And
they were walking around in fear.
And people still are, to be honest.
And I'm not poo-pooing. I'm not saying COVID doesn't exist. Of course it does. Hell, I had it in towards the end of February, it was not pleasant at all. No. So believe me, I'm not saying that with this comment. However, things do often get blown massively out of proportion by the media, because there's an old saying in the media: if it bleeds, it leads. Meaning, the more atrocious, sickening, or emotionally painful an incident or story is, the more likely it is to be on the front page or the news headlines, because it sells papers. It's a sad fact. It's very rare that you get good news on the front pages. And in the same way, the truth, they were telling the truth, generally speaking, about the pandemic, but amplifying it for a bigger emotional reaction and instilling fear into people. And fear stands for false evidence against reality, or false evidence appearing real. And it gives you two choices, fear, F-E-A-R, to either F everything, swear word F everything and run, which is like the fight and flight, escape from it.
I know.
Or face everything and rise. And unfortunately, because of the repetition of negative messaging during the pandemic, a heck of a lot of people, even when they were given the freedoms back, still remained in that fear or frozen state of the fight, flight, freeze.
No, you're right.
And it is taking longer than they kind of said it likely would for things to get back to normal. If it ever will.
So. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've got lots of friends, we do all sorts of work in show business, and they're all saying the same, they're all chasing the TV work or something like that, because, sort of guaranteed payment and all that, and not necessarily sure that they always get the best on television, but that's another story. But I do think it will pick it up, and I would be absolutely delighted to see you do that. And I think it's a lovely point on to finish with your interview, really, because if this man does do that show, I'll also be demanding tickets. And
well, you'd be more than welcome, without a doubt, as my guest. It's not a case of if it happens; it's just a case of when.
yes, of course,
It would have happened by now. And indeed, if there's anyone out there amongst the listeners and anywhere in the world, because I am prepared to, travel as long as it's not into a war zone whilst there's a war on. If you want to reach out to me, then my contact details are on ultimatehypnosiscourse.com. And maybe, if you've got a venue or a training centre even, maybe you have students and this is the kind of thing you might like to put on, send me a message and let's see. Who knows, maybe we can bring something to your country or location.
Well, Jonathan, it's been great to have you on the show again. I thought it was important to get you on again because that is a very good offer. You don't get much these days for less than 400 quid in the way of training, and I'll tip my hat to you on that. And I've always supported your work, and if you do anything of that nature, I'd be delighted to come and do something occasionally with you, because
cool.
I'm a medium who always is prepared to look with an open-minded to all different avenues. And I will say, going and seeing the show that we mentioned, and even now more published, but the show that we mentioned, and it was an excellent evening. And honestly, the wife, Kath, I said to my Mrs. Kath, I'll see this. I'll tell you could do this standing on his head. Jonathan Royle, so there you go.
Well, thank you for that. However, I will say this without a doubt. Whilst on the one hand, yes, I could, but I'd have to do it in my style, because without a doubt, he is such a charismatic
showman, I tell you.
Showman, exactly.
And Oh, we were captivated, don't get me wrong.
You know what? That's just brought into my head, I think, a final thought for the interview, and that is one final piece of advice for all the listeners.
Go on, then.
And I said earlier on, about, gave you a technique you can use to not be panicked or worried or whatever you want to use it. But one other key thing, not just in business, but also in life, is you need to help yourself get to a point where, and I don't mean this in the negative way it might sound, I mean it purely positively, where you don't try to be somebody else. Be your own best version of you. Nobody can do you better than you.
Absolutely.
So be you, because yes, there'll be people who won't like you, but there'll be people who end up loving you.
Correct.
If you think that being somebody else is going to make you universally liked, then you know what, when you do morph into that copy of somebody else, you're going to be incredibly disappointed to find that it makes no difference. And in fact, you'll feel even worse, because you'll realize that the ones that like you don't really like you. They like what they're perceiving, which is a copy of somebody else. So you'll get ultimately more satisfaction being yourself, knowing that the people who do end up liking you genuinely, sincerely like you, not something that's fake or made up.
Jonathan, it's been absolutely fantastic to have you on the show again, and we will again. We will.
Thank you.
Back, and we'll keep promoting your work. Love to your family. And,
you too, Phil.
Everything going well for you. I trust in the future. I know it will. But good luck, as they say. And
thank you.
Break a leg occasionally. Get that theatre show going. Good night. God bless, mate. Take care.
Good night.